with my viewers.
Instagram is awesome.
Mhm.
Daryl, he'll be hopping in a little later. Daryl works for CNN and he's covering what's happening right now in Texas. So he'll be hopping in and he'll be probably hopping off pretty early, but when he does, he will have the chance to introduce himself. Now is Michael on the line. Is Michael Moot there? All right, so we're gonna move on to Gigi. Gigi, do you mind introducing yourself? Gigi, you're mute.
Sorry. Hi guys, good morning. My name is Jalari Rivera, but everybody knows me as Gigi. I am a radio personality at 99 Jams, and my favorite social media platform would probably be Instagram and YouTube. But TikTok is like right there. It's coming for them. It's coming for IG. So yeah, that would be mine. My favorites.
TikTok is awesome. And I see Michael joined us. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, Dominique. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Moots. I'm the Public Information Officer for Miami-Dade County, assigned to the Mosquito Control Division. I essentially day-to-day communicate with residents and with the media. And I have to say my favorite social media site would have to be Twitter, just because it's short and sweet, and you have to be really focused on your messaging, and you have to be very, very brief. So I really like that about Twitter.
Absolutely. And Ayana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, everyone. I am Ayana Young. I am originally from Palm Beach, so when I visit home, I'm watching WPTV and listening to 99 Jams. But I serve as the media relations specialist at Tallahassee Community College. I write news releases, garner media attention, highlighting the college's accolades and upcoming events, overall maintaining the institution's brand. Previously, I was a reporter, producer covering state government news. And my favorite platform, I would have to agree with some of the other panelists and say Instagram, professionally and personally, just keeping tabs on everyone using that platform.
Absolutely. So we're all in a communications field and social media is important to everyone. Basically professionally and personally. And I know that we have some students that's listening in as well. And I'm sure they have tons of opinions about social media as well. I have a question for you all though. How do you all think social media reshaped our society? Like what has changed and how has social media changed the way we interacted with each other?
I'll take that one on. I think I'll certainly say it's a level of accessibility that we didn't have previously, just due to the fact that, from what Michael said, Twitter is short and sweet. You can wake up and tweet about your entire day, what you're doing. Visually on Instagram, you can post your stories, you can post in feed. So I think it's just a level of access that we didn't have before, that it creates now, sort of level of connectivity that brings us closer to other people that we may not know. I think now too, from even with celebrities, it just allows us to just see what their what their day to day is like. It also just allows us to get information out much quicker, to garner information, to get information. So I think I like to look at the positive side of social media and how just how it allows us to connect with one another, and of course, and get a lot of information.
Yes, truly. I see Daryl joined us. Daryl, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yes, absolutely. First off, I want to apologize for my tardiness. We're out here in Texas covering the aftermath from the winter storm, and a lot of people are still being affected and people are being displaced. So in this field, we have, as you all probably know, we have breaking news. So we just finished a live shot. And, I wanted to make sure I had time for you guys. Thank y'all for having me. So my name is Daryl Forges. I am a correspondent for CNN News Source. And I've been here at CNN for probably about, I would say maybe a year and a half almost. Before I was here, I was in Miami working for NBC6 WTVJ. And then before that, I was in Montgomery, Alabama. So I'm excited to be a part of this conversation and talk to you all about the importance of social media and how much it's grown over the years. And Dominique, also thank you for having me. So I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. One thing about social media is it's such a concentrated market, and it's hard for your voice and for your message to get across because there's so much information out there, whether it's true or false. And unfortunately, it's hard to filter that, whether or not the information is true or false. What are some ways you guys think either a company, a business, or organization, or someone personally can stand out in the crowd and share their authentic voice?
Dominique, I'd like to add on to what Gary was saying, if I may, before we move
Absolutely.
on. In terms of how social media has reshaped our society, I agree that it has connected us and it definitely does serve to inform, but I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword. And I think that kind of jumps onto what a little bit of what you were saying just now. We have to be very careful because social media has in fact divided us. And unfortunately, there's been some forces, politically and globally and here nationally that have leveraged social media to divide us. And we all know that social media has been leveraged to misinform us. So I think it's very important for us as communicators to not just be torchbearers for good and honest communication in social media, but we also have to be wary of that. We also have to be forces to help combat against the misinformation that's sadly gotten through. And I think one of the problems is that by and large the population here, they really can't distinguish between what's a good source of information and what isn't. Unfortunately, they see something on Facebook and they think it's gospel. And sadly, some of the negative forces around have really capitalized on that and leveraged social media to misinform us.
Absolutely. And you
if I
were
could,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Cameron.
no, I'll say Michael's making some incredibly really good points, and I'm not sure if
Yes,
anyone
Daryl.
mentioned this before, and if so, I apologize. But another thing too is for us, the great people in this panel, we're very media savvy. We know the difference between actual factual news and fake news, and we get so caught up in this what they call the popcorn generation, where everybody wants to be the first, the fastest at anything without even verifying it. And sometimes we have to, on our end, be careful with what we retweet or favorite on Twitter or share on Facebook, because it's so fast when we see these breaking news after breaking news happen day after day, second after second, and we're just real quick to retweet it. But we have to double check and say, okay, hold on, is this really true? Did this person really die? Did this legislation really happen? Did Trump really say that? So you really have to just make sure before you retweet, before we say anything, make sure it's actually true, because we are the standard bearers. We are the standard for a lot of people that look to us to get them the truth out there. So it's also a big thing we have to really keep in mind as well.
Another point I wanted to mention, if I can, just real quick, when it comes to social media and news, and I know Daryl, you probably can agree, it's social media has really, been a game changer, in the media field. We no longer have to wait until 5 o'clock to bring news to our viewers. If something's happening right then and there, with the ability of Facebook Live, we can take our viewers right to the scene. So I know particularly here at my station, when it comes to breaking stories, we don't wait till the evening newscast. If it's happening right then and there, we'll bring it to you first on social media, probably tease it, and then ask our viewers to join us later. So that's one of the big advantages for social media.
And you also have some stations will say, hey, can you go live for us real quick?
Right.
Can you go live on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, So yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Definitely. And that's why some people think with social media it's important to be first. And yes, being first and being timely is important, but being accurate is way more important, because even though you might be the first one to report it, if it's inaccurate, then you can definitely hurt your voice and hurt your sense of trust with people. So for those who are out there that are studying news and journalism and want to one day be in the same field as Daryl or Camrell or Ayana once was, being a news anchor, yes, try to get the information as quickly as possible. Make sure you vet it and have some authentic sources that you're vetting that information from, so you can stay trustworthy to the public.
All right, be first, but get it right. Right, Dominique?
Absolutely. Anyone else want to add to that one? And if you do get it wrong, which you sometimes will, because we're all human, be sure to go back and actually put the accurate information out there. Refute what you put out there and be like, hey, the information I said was not completely accurate. However, I was able to gather more information, and these are the facts. So even doing something like that can definitely help you. And it comes off very professional if you're willing to admit your wrongs as well. So something I definitely want to just share out there when it comes to social media and putting inaccurate information out there. What are some, I forgot what my other question was. But what are some of the ways that social media pushes or contribute to social change? Speaking of Black Lives Matter, income disparities, climate change, some of those huge social issues out there, what are some ways that social media contributed to those movements? I know it's a wide scale answer or question.
Well, I'll jump in. I think it's important to recognize that it really had a big effect on politics, especially not just this last election cycle in 2016, but I think we can all still remember how masterfully and how wonderfully Barack Obama leveraged social media in 2008. I think he was one of the first presidential campaigns in modern history, well, in history, really, because social media hasn't been around that long, to successfully leverage it. I remember that he really just outclassed and outshined his opponent in reaching young voters and getting people engaged and registering voters and turning the vote out. I'll never forget that. That was really impressionable. And sadly, in 2016 and 2020, there was a lot of nefarious acts and actors and bad actors in using social media to try to poison the well, so to speak. So that is really, those are really the examples I can think of right off the top of my head.
Absolutely.
I think also looking at especially Black Lives Matter movement, I think it was even bigger because of the pandemic. People were really leaning on each other and really leaning on social media to talk to one another, connect more, because you were on lockdown or you were 6 feet socially distant. So I think that it really made people really push more to come together in a lot of different ways. And on the flip side, I unfortunately have to talk about it, but even on January 6th, the insurrection we saw in Washington, you saw how quickly those people, the insurrectionists who were there, how quickly they were able to come together in Washington and unfortunately did what they did. And you also saw the impacts of President Trump when he tweeted while they were doing the insurrection and saying, hey, I think you guys need to stop it, go home. And in the middle of them at the Capitol, they left and went home.
Yeah, you're right, Daryl. They were literally reading his tweets live, through a bullhorn.
Yeah, it was they were reading his tweets aloud, and then they said, okay, it's time to go. We've done our part, it's time to go. So that just shows you just like the power of social media and how people, no matter what they're doing, any time of the day, or even if they're insurrecting the Capitol, they're watching their phones. They're seeing what the person they look up to is doing. Same thing, the Black Lives Matter movement. They saw, okay, this is what happened with George Floyd. This is what happened with Breonna Taylor. We need to do something about it. And so that's what you saw all across the country, people doing those movements, not only in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which I was a part of, and I was not a part of, but covering it that whole time, but also what was happening in Atlanta with Rayshard Brooks, and of course in Louisville, Kentucky with Breonna Taylor, and people were taken to the streets. And it caused a lot of change. And you also saw politicians like Stacey Abrams take full advantage by using that on social media to get people to register to vote. And that's why you saw Georgia in a lot of ways turn blue. You had over 800,000 Georgians register to vote for the first time because of her, because of what they saw on social media, and they really plugged into that. And that's how you're able to see change in movements. And that's how Georgia, for the first time, I think maybe like 20, 25 years, turned blue. So it really does have an impact when it comes to social media with the Black Lives Matter movement, and also getting people registered out there to vote as well.
Yeah, I hate to keep hammering on politics, but where would we be without Stacey Abrams and social media?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And everyone doesn't have a following like Stacey Abrams. So some people feel as if their voice won't carry as much weight. And what are some of you guys' advice on ways that people can possibly gain a larger following on social media? And what are some things that are more interesting? Because I know a lot of you manage some big social media accounts with a large following. what is some of the advice that you may have for people who want to be that next Stacey Abrams with all those followers?
I think one big thing to do is post consistently, posting on a regular basis, and knowing your audience. I think that's one of the key things or the best advice that I can give. And also, when it comes to posting a variety of things. Like, for example, my situation, what I like to do is when I'm at a scene, I'll not only take pictures of the scene, but also like give people a behind the scenes look of what's going on. I think that's really important.
Mm.
To
Good.
piggyback on that, I think consistency matters, but at the same time, getting credibility is knowing, be a subject matter expert. Whatever it is that you want to talk about is ensuring that you know your ins and outs of it. And what that will do is, as the current people that's following you, they'll be more prone to tell other people about you. So that way now there'll be a virality effect to what you're posting, so that more people can discover you. So I think consistency matters, but at the same time, in addition to that, you have to actually know what you're talking about, because if people can easily tell, especially nowadays, if it's fluff or if it's very authentic, if there's any substance to it. So there has to be some you have to gain a level of credibility, and then that will help you to grow your audience.
Definitely.
Yeah, Dominique, I'll add that if you have the budget, if your department or your organization has the budget, definitely invest in advertising. Unfortunately or fortunately, Facebook is a platform that really forces you to pay them to put your content out. But at the same time, they really allow you to hyper target and to get in front of the people that would normally or wouldn't necessarily be aware about you, but might be interested in you. So definitely consider advertising.
Okay. Gigi?
I was also going to say, not to be cliche, but just like being yourself and being the most original version of yourself that you can be, because we have, on Instagram, we have millions and millions of people on there. So we have tons of influencers, tons of sports anchors, tons of radio personalities. So I feel like you need to find your niche and, kind of stick with what you think will work for you. And just by being yourself, your audience will automatically kind of gravitate towards that, and they'll know that it's not you just doing things for clout or doing things to go viral. It's like, no, this is who I am. This is the type of information or content that I really enjoy doing and putting out there. So I'd say just finding your niche and finding what really makes you you and what you enjoy doing. I feel like that will automatically separate you and bring you organic bring you an organic audience.
I love that. And I was thinking the same thing, like original content, because when you think about it, like how much time do we spend on our phone scrolling? If your content looks like everyone else's, what's going to make people want to follow you? They want to hear something fresh. They want to hear something original. So yes, the original content is important. And the consistency, picking back on what you said, consistency is so important because a lot of these social media platforms use algorithms. So I realized the more I like, for example, Gary's post, the more I go on Instagram, I see it at the beginning of my feed. So his is always refreshed and I continuously see it. And that person, and Gary will obviously get even more likes and things of that nature because he's consistent and it works in conjunction with the algorithms that come with social media. So I think that's awesome advice. Oh, Ayana?
Yes, and in addition to all the points made, I also think quality is important. Quality content. On the technicality side, we want quality videos. We don't want pixelated videos. We don't want you holding your camera weird, odd ways. So, I think it's holistically content delivery, the quality of the video are all components that are important.
Absolutely. I love that. The quality. You can definitely tell when someone invests in their content. Like if all your pictures are dark, it's obvious you don't have a ring light. It would be worth you having one. Even if you're working, like, for example, for corrections like us, we made sure that we have, a step and repeat. So when we go on, we can have very clean video to share on social media. In front of me, I have several ring lights to make sure you can see me clear. And those things take you a long way. Even our counterparts at Miami-Dade PD, they have a whole studio dedicated to filming. So if you're willing to make that investment, the audience will be able to tell, and they will rather follow you than someone who has sloppy content. You can tell they just did it on their iPhone 5, which and no no shade, but I had the iPhone 3 for the longest, but they can tell. So invest in the right equipment, the lights, do it little by little and watch your following go up, and it'll make a great difference.
If I
Speaking of
may,
yes.
oh, I'm sorry. If I may, I just real quick. I just want to. Gigi made some great points earlier about being yourself and letting things happen organically. The thing about the consumers or people that are watching your posts is that they can pick up when you're being fake or not. Be yourself and be unapologetic about it, because that could separate you from the thousands of influencers, the thousands of reporters, anchors, whomever out there. It's just being yourself, and people could love that about you. Like they watch and see Cam on TV and say, "Man, I like Cam's post because he does this," or "I love Gigi because she does that." Stick to that, because people can pick really fast if you're being genuine or if you're being fake with them.
Absolutely. Speaking of social media and accounts, what are some of the accounts that you all are following that you think people should also pay attention to, and maybe model some of the things that they're doing to help enhance their social media following or the social media following for their company, business, or county department? No one worth following?
Well, of course, Miami-Dade Corrections, right? And Miami-Dade Mosquito at 305 Mosquito. You guys should all be following that. But I guess I'm the political guy. I've been reading a lot of posts, daily posts by a political scientist named Heather Cox Richardson. She's a really good follow. She's really clear-eyed and very clear communications about what she does is she summarizes the day's events and she puts them in political context. And she is not left or right. I've been accused of being a little bit to the left, in my opinions and my sources, but she's very much a centrist, and I like to read her first thing in the morning just to get a good recap of what happened, and she doesn't pick sides. She's, again, she's a political scientist, so she's very, she's very straight about what she says and how she says it. Heather Cox Richardson.
Good. For me, it's Angela Rye. I love Angela Rye. I love how educated she is. I love the content that she shares, and how she also, like, if she went on the news, she'll reshare some of the clips from that as well. So she keeps variety. She has stills, she has video, she goes on live from time to time. So I think people should definitely pay attention to Angela Rye and her social media. That's a good page to follow. Who did I cut off accidentally? Sorry.
No, good. It's myself. So I think for me, the advice I have for that one in particular is that whichever field and industry that you're in, identify who are the thought leaders in that particular space. And once you know their names and looking them up on social media, and then you can sort of see the type of content that they have, and then you can follow them from there. So I'm an entrepreneur, so of course I follow Elon Musk. I follow the different CEOs that are out there, Damon John, Gary Vee. So those are the guys that I personally follow, because I'm an entrepreneur and I look to them for guidance, and I would like to see what they're up to so I can keep up with them. So I think for anyone, if you're in PR, if you're in the entertainment industry, it's sort of identifying with the thought leaders in this space, who they are, and then just Googling them and finding out what the social media pages are.
I'd probably say for me, I follow everybody. I think in news it's different because you have the saying, you have to know a little bit about everything. So in our field, you're covering politics, local news, sports some days, any entertainment even. So I follow everybody, but I probably say the one thing that keeps me, and I might sound really boring, but NPR is my go-to. I look at NPR for their podcast and also NPR for their posts, because they say fairly down the middle with a lot of stuff. So it's good to kind of get a really good idea of what's going on through that. So I'll probably say NPR. Craig Melvin, he's really good at what he does. So definitely I follow Craig Melvin, of course, follow Don and those guys. But for me, I probably said I follow everybody, because every day is something different. I don't follow the same beat. Like today I'm covering, things happening in Texas. Tomorrow I might be covering something in the White House. The next day covering something in Atlanta. So For me, it's just following everybody, figuring out what's going on, and constantly on the watch of figuring, okay, what's breaking, what's the latest thing. But for me, my thing that keeps me centered is probably NPR.
If there's any NFL fans out there, Adam Schefter is a good follow on Twitter.
Oh,
That
Shefty.
man is
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Shefty.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's on it. He's, anything that's breaking, he's usually either the one breaking it or he's on it right away.
And Adrian Wojciechowski for
Woj.
NBA too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to piggyback, and I'll let Ayana speak in a second because I know there's students on here listening. If you are a PR or journalism student, please stop what you're doing and follow NPR right now. That is definitely a very credible news source. Is something that you need to stay on and check on a regular. So please do that. It will help you and help your career and help formulate some of the conversations when you're going on social media and things of that nature. So if you're not following NPR, definitely stop what you're doing and do so.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Daryl and with you, Dominique. NPR is great. I also like to follow the AP News or Reuters, again, to avoid that accusation that I'm biased or I'm left or right. You follow, something down the middle like that, and you can't go wrong.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All those accounts are important, especially AP for undergraduate students who are writing. AP style is critical for any profession that, you need that for copy editing and whatnot. And just adding on, especially for the students on here, some accounts that I enjoy participating in and watching is the Color.com. It's a platform for minority women, specifically. I'm just talking about self-development seminars, workshops. They post job opportunities. Another account that I also follow is Black Girls in Media, because they also post job opportunities. So I'm all about following platforms that put that information out there for you all.
Ayana, what was the name of the one that shares job opportunities? Because I think you need to repeat that one.
That is Color.com.
Color.com.
Yes. And then I also follow Black Girls in Media.
All right. Sorry to cut you off. I believe Daryl was speaking, or was it?
Oh, I was going to say also, I forgot we have students on here too, and Ayana made me remember it. Also, follow NABJ's page, National Association of Black Journalists. They always have openings. They always post things about openings, whether in print, TV, radio, doesn't matter. NABJ is crucial. And plus, since y'all are in South Florida, also follow the South Florida Black Journalists Association page too, because they have some great people there. I used to work on the executive board there. So always some good opportunities there, because honestly, if it was for NABJ, I wouldn't even be where I'm at today. So definitely follow those pages for sure.
Awesome. What are some of the ways that people can build on their social media skills, other than following those social media influencers with great followings and taking some of their gems? What are some of the other things that either professionals in the field or students can do to build on their social media skills? Any advice? It's not an easy one. I'll start. For me, I would say definitely YouTube. YouTube is my best friend. Google used to be my best friend, and now it's YouTube. Anytime I want to learn about something or build on a skill, I definitely YouTube it. So if I want to learn how to use a special effect on social media, I YouTube it. If I want to learn the best equipment to order, I YouTube it so I can watch the tutorial, watch how they set it up, how I can use it, how it can better my content. So I think YouTube is my personal best friend when it comes to building on my skills. Am I the only one with advice on this one?
No, I love YouTube.
Google is my best friend. Anytime I have a question about anything, anything job related, anything skills related, I go straight to Google. Google is my friend. I'm on at least once a day.
I'd also say practice, like whether maybe you want to start a blog on social media or you want to be on camera, get a tripod and practice talking on camera, practice, your angles, do all that. If you want to, like I said, maybe start a blog or whatever, write up some blogs, send them to your friends, get feedback. You just don't want to be like, I want to be an influencer and hop on IG or whatever platform you want to use and just go from there. You kind of want to have some sort of practice and make sure you're producing good quality stuff, good content, informational stuff. So I would say just try to get some practice before you decide that you definitely want to make social media your thing.
And
You know, somebody, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Ayana,
Okay.
ladies first.
And I'm a big proponent of self-development courses, training. Granted, I'm in grad school right now at Florida State doing integrated marketing. So you may not want to go back to get a whole other degree, but training is critical. You can learn the Adobe Creative Suite. I know Florida Public Relation Association, which I'm also part of, they provide free trainings or free seminars for students. So definitely capitalize on that if you're a student. Take anything for free that you can. So I'm big on self-development, training sessions and seminars.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe one of my fellow panelists mentioned this already, but follow the experts in the field, and really don't be afraid to emulate. If you see something that you like, I mean, I'm not talking about plagiarizing and stealing copy, but it's okay to model yourself and model your posts and your approach to some of the experts. And what I always tell any student that'll listen to me is the mistake that I made coming out of college was I did not do an internship. I didn't volunteer somewhere. And that really put a few years between the time that I graduated and the time I was able to land a real job in the industry. And it was me not interning, I think, was the reason why I'm in marketing and public relations. I originally wanted to be a journalist. I studied journalism at FIU. I got my degree, and my dream was to be the Miami Heat beat writer. And obviously that didn't happen, but I did wind up in marketing and journalism. So it was an interesting turn, but it all happened because I think I'm convinced that it's because I didn't do an internship. So if you want to get better, I think a good way is to volunteer or intern, work with a professional, get in and get your foot in the door in an organization, because everyone wants a paid internship, but if you're not getting paid, don't worry about it, do a short term, maybe work over the summer. And then, because what that does is that gets you in the door, that makes the people who do the hiring aware of who you are and what you can do.
I'm not sure, Dominic, this probably falls along the same line of your question, I think, but for all you students out there, anyone in general, when it comes to social media and how you can really build your profile, before you hit send, make sure you really double check to make sure this is what you want to post and make sure it's appropriate and make sure that this is something that's not going to get you in trouble 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. Because let's say you post something that's great idea, something awesome. So, oh my God, who is this person? The first thing some people naturally do, not saying for me, but what some people naturally do is they'll like stalk your page and start scrolling, who is this person? And that's how their idea of you starts to come up. And if they see one bad tweet or something that you favorited or retweeted from 6, 7 months ago, and they could easily take that out of context and that could ruin you potentially. Especially if you want to become an influencer or even a journalist, especially if you're a journalist. CNN watches our profiles 24/7. As soon as you post something they might feel is out of line, they will call you immediately because it's all about protecting their brand. So you have to have the same mindset when it comes to protecting your brand. So I just urge all you students out there and anyone out there in general, just double check and really think twice before you press send. And if you are kind of unsure, I don't know if I want to post this or not. If you are on the fence, it's probably not even worth posting. So that's something also that you need to think about as well.
That's a good one. And just to piggyback on what Daryl said, and oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't say this earlier. With social media, please, before you post anything, I think everyone knows what I'm going to say, proofread what you're putting out there, because no one wants to follow someone with a whole bunch of grammatical mistakes or just simple errors, and it will happen because no one's perfect. However, proofread it. Don't read it twice, read it 3 times, read it 4 times. And depending, how long the content is, send it to your friend and let them read it, because it's possible for you to miss some things and be blind to it. So in order to, make social media your thing, whether this is personal and professional advice, please proofread out, put it out there.
Or also, something that I do sometimes as well is if you are filled with emotion about something, if there's something that's really got you hyped or whatever, you're like, I gotta tweet this out. Before you hit send, just save it in your drafts and wait 5 or 10 minutes and then go back to it and then see if it's worth posting. It's happened to a lot of people. And I speak to a lot of my friends who are journalists the past, especially 2020, because how high emotions have been. There's a lot of saved tweets in those drafts. So just be careful and just be mindful.
Speaking of heated, and I'm gonna let everyone finish. I'm sorry, but before I forget, speaking of heated tweets or heated social media content, the mayor in what city it was could have definitely used that advice, because
Colorado
he's
City,
out of
right?
a job. There we go.
Colorado City,
Colorado
Texas.
City.
In
Yeah.
Texas. Yeah.
Perfect
I don't want
example.
to take perfect example. He tweeted something that was very, I'm sure at the time, heartfelt, but very unnecessary. And he
And it
should have
was typo ridden. It was full of typos and grammatical errors. So to your point,
been on this panel. He should have been
Right.
listening in. Like, what were you doing? I'm sorry, I cut a few people off. I just wanted to put that in there. Can you all hear me?
yeah, did we take a
Okay.
timeout together or what happened?
Okay. I thought I cut one off. I thought I cut someone off earlier about this. And another thing I just wanted to piggyback on was the organizations. There's so many organizations out there. I think Ayana mentioned it. I think Michael mentioned it. A few people mentioned it that have trainings. So with social media, you won't unfortunately learn everything in the classroom, because there's only so much that can be taught in during a semester or two. So definitely take advantage of those trainings. Last but not least, and I think we already kind of spoke on it, but what are some of the ways that people can break into this industry, communications, PR, industry? How can some people break into this industry? And what is your advice for people who are having a hard time?
I would say it's networking. You can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You have, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. We all know that, we all have some, the people on this panel I know have some really good connections. They were able to get those connections and where they are now in their field, they were able to through those connections, So you have to be able to be a people person. You may be an introvert, and that's okay. Nothing against introverts. That's totally fine. I get it. Some days I want to be by myself in my house, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to getting that check and getting your money, and trying to build yourself and build your brand, you have to get out there and speak to people, because you never know who you're going to run into. So I would say that's definitely the biggest thing. An example, like at CNN, we have people who are on air who never started in local news. They were maybe producers or field producers for the network, and they were like, hey, I want to become a correspondent. And they spoke to the right people in order to get those opportunities, and now they're flourishing and doing a great job. So I would say for anybody, just make sure you're getting in touch with the right people, constantly following up and being aggressive, because if you're not being aggressive, there's someone out there who is. This field is incredibly competitive. I'm not the only black man with glasses on TV. There's a bunch of us, right? So we got to do things to separate ourselves on television and separate ourselves from the competition. So I would say the biggest thing is just constantly networking and speaking with people to try to, move your way up in whatever you decide to do.
In addition to networking, I would say with this field, it's very mentors, finding the experts, finding a mentor is really important. And my advice to students who are on here, don't be afraid, to reach out to those experts. Don't be afraid. A lot of times you'll find they'll be more willing to help you being that you're a student than when you become on the same level as them as a professional. So don't be afraid to reach out and seek advice. A lot of times you'll find the more persistent you are, it'll pay off in the long run.
Yes, it's important. Be aggressive. Bug them if you need to. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. But no, it's important, especially for the students, to take advantage of your university's newspaper, the TV stations there. I know in undergrad, in addition to internships, because those are critical as well, because that gives you the experience. At FAMU, I was an anchor at TV 20. I participated in the newspaper. So definitely utilize what you all have, the radio station there. Those are all resources that add to your resume.
So true.
I would say for me, Daryl, you stole my idea. I would say definitely networking. I am in everybody's DMs and everybody's emails. Like, I am definitely making sure that the people who I want to notice me or the people that I want to connect with are aware of who I am, So I feel like I know it's awkward and it's kind of annoying, especially when they're not responding, but don't get discouraged and don't be afraid to send, 1, 2, 3 message. Like, you have to be consistent and you have to be really dedicated. I would say networking and definitely taking advantage of your resources. Like when I was at Barry University, I was at the radio station. I did the newspaper we had a TV room, like a green screen. I would be there like, do you guys need help? What do you guys need me to do? Just making sure the people around me are aware of, the hustle and are aware of, okay, this little girl is super annoying, but she's dedicated. And believe it or not, people are noticing, So I feel like as long as you are making sure that you are connecting with the right people, or even if you don't think they're the right people, all you need is to connect with one person that will guide you to the next person and your career will just take off.
I actually want to take it a step even further. Prior to networking, it's actually about being intentional, right? It's about having
Mhm.
your intentions and also knowing when you do meet the right person that can potentially help you and having your story straight so that they can actually guide you
Right.
properly. You can't meet someone and just say, "Hey, I need to be a news anchor. What do I do?" Like you have to be very specific
Mhm.
about exactly what the steps things that you're trying to accomplish so that person can guide you. And you have to also think from their lenses and their position is that everyone is coming at them and asking them for help and asking them for advice, right? So therefore, but if you go to them with the specifics as to exactly what you're looking for, it will be much easier on them to guide you to steer you in the right direction versus them trying to figure it out as to exactly what you're trying to accomplish. So networking is absolutely key. I agree with both Daryl and Gigi.
Mhm.
I think also too, prior to you trying to network, be sure to understand what exactly you're trying to accomplish so you can get the proper guidance.
I love that.
Mhm.
And one thing I would say is with your intentionality speech, when you come into contact with someone who could possibly help you break into the industry that you want to be a part of, don't always be on the give me side. Sometimes have something to offer them. For example, if I see Gigi, I'm like, oh my gosh, Gigi works for 99 Jams. I think that's so cool. I want to be on radio too. One thing I would do, and this is as a student, as a professional, would offer my services. Hey, are you guys having any events that are coming up that I can volunteer and just help
Mhm.
out? I can shadow you. I can give you some advice. I could, whatever it is that you need, any service that I can provide, I'm willing to do
Mhm.
it and try to develop a genuine relationship with them because people know when you're trying to use them. So when you come at them in that way, it comes off more authentic and you'll be surprised what can come from that. And then another one, and I'm going to let you guys answer more. But if you don't see an open door, open a door for yourself. Take it upon yourself to print out your resume. Of course, it needs to be correct. Print it nicely on resume paper. I'm just that person. And take it to those stations. Hey, I just want to pass my information along. If something opens up, this is my information, my contact information. I just want to share it with you all. So when something opens up, they may think like, hey, I remember there was this girl, Dominique Moody, she stopped by, she dropped her resume, we kept it in a file. We should probably give her a call and see if she's interested in an interview. Those type of things definitely set you apart from the rest. It shows that you are unafraid, that you're a hustler, that you're bold. And those are some of the things that will open up a door for you that may not have been open before.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe this is the part where they're going to ask us questions, the last couple of minutes. Does anyone have any questions for us? Is there anything that we did not cover that you may want some more insight on? Okay, I have a question. Oh, this is one. What do you think is the future of social media? Do you think Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and I don't see the rest
Facebook
and Facebook? You see the
will
rest
be around in 5 years, or will there be new platforms?
Michael, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I think they'll be around. I think social media will always continue to evolve. I think you've seen some of this happen within some of the platforms where Instagram started with the stories, and then Facebook bought them, and then now all of a sudden you have Facebook stories. I don't know if you guys all noticed, but Twitter now has their own version. So I think they will continue to evolve. TikTok wasn't around just a few years ago, and here it is. All of a sudden, Snapchat was a big thing, and now it's not. So I think we've seen that they will continue to evolve and drop off, and some of the good ones, so like YouTube, I think will be around for all time.
I agree.
Yeah, and just like with Instagram Reels, they kind of did that as a result from TikTok. So they added on that, and that even more so, it's more important, continue that training, self-development, being abreast of what's developing, new technology, new features on these platforms, so you can get, the bang for your buck, so to speak.
Absolutely. And I see Paulina has a question. How all that you mentioned here is relevant to the public sector? Is there any difference between private and nonprofit world? I'll start. Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dominique. No, you start. You.
Being an employee of the public sector, all of this stuff is relevant for the simple fact that, for example, with Miami-Dade Corrections, before I worked here, I worked at Miami-Dade Solid Waste with Michael. And we worked on social media and things of that nature. And as a county department, we have a large audience, and our audience are really considered our customers. So the services that we provide are relative to their day-to-day lives. Therefore, it's so important that our content stays relevant, that we're pushing people to follow us on social media, for example, so they can know when their trash days are. So we don't have to bog down our 311 contact center with those sort of questions, because if you follow us on social media, Miami-Dade Solid Waste, then you would know your trash days, your recycling days, what to put in your bin, what not to put in your bin, and vice versa. In my specific role right now, what I do with corrections is, and with the team, of course, we push the positive messaging that comes out of corrections. Yes, we deal with inmates on a regular basis. However, we're doing some great things in the community. We do book bag drives. We do we do things for the community. We do fingerprint details. And those are some of the things that our customers, Miami-Dade County residents, need to know and be aware of. So knowing how to utilize social media properly can help you on your job and to help spread the information that is necessary to your customers or residents. Anyone else want to answer? Okay.
Just to add on to what you mentioned, Dominique, being that I am a part of a state college, the students are our clients. Granted, I'm in Tallahassee, but we service students across the state, and social media provides that reach. For example, we get students, I recently did a feature story on 3 brothers who left Miami, and they are part of the EMT firefighting program here in Tallahassee. In addition to us training our state troopers, we train in one of our campuses in Gadsden County, all the state troopers in Florida. So definitely all of these platforms, social media is really relevant in how we engage and meet the needs of our clients across the state.
Absolutely. I see we have another question. Do you feel the owners of social media platforms have a moral obligation to monitor? Do you think it threatens the First Amendment?
You broke up a little bit there, Dominique, but
Yeah.
more obligation to monitor and censor users. Do you think it threatens the First Amendment? I'd like to take a stab at that. That's an excellent question. First of all, second, I think yes, they have a moral obligation to monitor and censor users because, as we all know, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You know, you can't just yell whatever you feel like you think of at the top of your head and not expect some kind of consequence. That's just not how the real world works. And do I think it threatens the First Amendment? No. The First Amendment is about protecting you from the government. This First Amendment has nothing to do with a private company and what you say on there. And furthermore, before you agree to join this, you are asked to opt into a set of rules and regulations, and a lot of these specify that you are subject to censoring. So you're volunteering. You're already saying yes, you can police me. So I think that argument is a little silly, and no offense, but I think people, instead of scrolling past your terms of service, next time take a minute to read them. Know what you're getting into, and you really should. You should know the First Amendment. It is the First Amendment for a reason. So I kind of, not to sound condescending, but really I think it's important for people to go back and really read the Bill of Rights, read the First Amendment, really understand what it's about. It's not, social media isn't Big Brother. They are there. They have rules, and we have to live by them. Unfortunately, fortunately, that's what makes society. Rules.
Absolutely. And there's young people on social media, and the audience gets younger and younger every day. And some of those young people are impressionable. And that's why I hold the social media platforms to a higher standard. Because of that, they need to censor some of the things that are inappropriate and that can negatively affect our youth. Another question, and this one specifically for Gigi. How has the radio industry changed in response to social media and everyone having the capability to create their own streaming broadcasting platform?
I think honestly, it has changed for the better. I feel like in terms of social media, we now as personalities, we have the ability to get on Instagram Live, and we have the ability to shout out people directly based on their ad and based on their name. So I feel like you build that direct connection with your audience, which is awesome. When it comes to shout outs and all of that, now we're doing reels and we're joining in on all the fun and just kind of creating fun, entertaining content for our audience rather than them just being able to listen to our voice. Now it's like, oh, now I can see them. And I would say, as far as people being able to, listen to their own music, whether it's on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever, I feel like radio, people say it's dying, but I would say it's certainly not, because people tune into jams, for example, for the Trick and Treat morning show. You're not going to get that on your own platform or on Apple Music. You're only going to get it on jams, and you're tuning in because they're either A, relatable, B, you want to hear what they have to say. So I feel like, our audience, or every radio network's audience, tuned in for a specific reason. So I feel like, yeah, you can listen to your own music, but you're not going to get the personality aspects of it. You're not going to get the certain jokes aspects of it, certain little things that every radio station is doing. You can't find that anywhere else. So I feel like, to each his own, but definitely social media, I feel like, has upped the radio game to a whole other level.
Absolutely. And we have come to an end of this panel. So I thank you all for joining me today. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure those who listened in learned a lot as well. Before we part, I want everyone to share their social media platforms. So if anyone has any questions or just want to see what sort of content you share, please share your social media handle. For me, I'm always on Instagram. Please follow me, Classy Maven, Maven, on Instagram. I'm always on there. I'm always updating it. So feel free to follow me and ask me any questions that you may have that you didn't unfortunately have the opportunity to ask during this panel. All right, Gary?
Sure. As for myself, I'm on LinkedIn, so certainly use my name, Gary Quashe, on LinkedIn, and certainly feel free to connect with me on there as well.
Camrell?
Instagram and Twitter, you can follow me at Camrell TV, and Facebook is Camrell Eppinger WPTV.
Michael?
You can follow me at 305 Mosquito on behalf of Miami-Dade County. You can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook, first and last name, Michael Moot. I think there's only one other person with my first and last name, and that's the dude in New York. I'm not the guy in New York. I'm here based in Miami, so hit me up.
Gigi?
You guys can find me on Instagram and Twitter. It's at It's Your Girl Gigi. That's my radio name. So that's ITSYAGIRLGIGII. It's Your Girl Gigi.
And Ayana, my fellow FAMUan.
Yes, Ayana Young, LinkedIn, Facebook, and then my Instagram is Madam MADAM _Yana 11.
Thank you all. We enjoyed you. Take care.
Thank you, Dominique, so much.
Love you guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Dominique. Everyone stay well.
Thank you, everyone. This was a fabulous panel.